I've been outspoken about my disdain for the first Venom film.
Turd in the wind.
I'd like to say I was surprised, but it was about what I was expecting from it.
I don't think that Venom is the worst movie on this list, but it does have the worst baggage.
But this really does feel like it was written by a middle schooler.
As well as my disdain for the Venomverse Sonyverse, the Sony universe that has something to do with Spider-Man, I think.
Has to do with Spider-Man, I think.
And make no mistake, I am still not interested in the Sinister 6 film that Sony has been trying to make since I was a sophomore in high school. I don't care about the Sonyverse. It's been straight up terrible since the beginning, and I will die on this hill. But my God, Venom: The Last Dance looks fun. I don't know what's happening. Mercury's in retrograde? I don't know.
Maybe I'm depressed.
But I think this looks like a cool movie. Let's talk about it. My name is Oliver the Ricketts, and I love Spider-Man. Many of you know that. Many of you also know that in the past I have often talked about movies on this channel. And still, many of the same of you know that in recent times I've stopped talking about movies because these videos take a lot of time to produce with any kind of production value. And so I'd rather pursue my own artistic endeavors, like squashing a watermelon between my thighs, rather than talking about other people's artistic endeavors, like Avengers 7. But Spider-Man and all Spider-Man adjacent things are, of course, not subject to this rule. As a lifelong fan, I think it is important for my own amusement to snapshot things within this property as they happen, as a sort of time capsule. When I go back and look at my Venom trailer reaction from back in 2018, I just smile to myself.
And for that reason, I give it 1 out of 5 dancing Tobies.
It's even more satisfying because I was right. Or maybe it's not, because who wants to sit through a bad movie, so maybe it kind of sucks. P.S. If you are looking for movie-related content that doesn't have to do with me, I do still make that over on the Designing Hollywood YouTube channel. Check that out, link in the description below. I've personally always seen the Venom films as an Emperor has no clothes type of situation. Spider-Man has no clothes. Spider-Man isn't here, actually. It has something to do with Spider-Man, I think.
Intriguing.
I made a video back when the first movie came out about the lack of Spider-Man in the film, and how that was antithetical to the point of the character.
Everybody is talking about how Venom's origin is so tied up with Spider-Man. The reason everybody's talking about it is because it's a valid point.
We're not going to get into that. Although it is funny how at the time we made a point about how uninterested we were in superhero movies about the supervillain without the associated superhero.
I'm not saying you can't have a movie about bad people. There's really good movies about bad people. But the thing about superhero villains is that they're meant to be villains, not the core of your movie.
And now in 2024, all of the major superhero movies coming out are villains or side characters of other superheroes without the main superhero in them. Times have changed. I just think that's interesting. And when Venom came out, it sucked. A boring, one-note film with an anticlimactic ending where you couldn't see anything that was going on. And moreover, it was a movie that just did not know how stupid it was.
Are you drunk? No, I broke into the Life Foundation.
You did what?
Yeah, I think I may have been infected.
Hey, he's burning
Eddie, you look like you're in a bad way.
Yeah, I am in a bad way.
Eddie, Jesus!
And for some reason, so many people decided that they loved it. And I'm happy for you. I would just like to be one of you. It was the most mind-boggling thing at the time, because the original Venom film had very few elements, in my opinion, of what makes a good movie. Because it was a callback to the superhero films of 2004. Think Elektra or Catwoman.
Eddie, please.
Superhero movies that were embarrassed to be superhero movies. The same kind of movies that said the Daredevil suit was too red and pretended to be way more serious than they actually were. I don't think Batman and Robin is a good movie, but maybe Joel Schumacher was right when he said, remember, it's a cartoon.
7 million.
Because when you refuse to embrace the silliness and over-the-top nature, you actually just underline how stupid the subject matter actually is.
Rolling down the street like a turd in the wind.
We want sincerity. But all year when that film came out, people were telling me how much they loved it. They were taken with Venom. They were taken with Eddie. They were taken with his weird Jersey Shore accent.
I am proud to say. Yeah.
But the thing is, I was right. Because then Sony took the lesson that this was okay, and they made another movie with all of the same flaws, in my opinion. Where there's a lead character who's originally a villain, but now he's an anti-hero, fights a parallel version of himself, maybe just a version of him that's, a different color. It ends in a climax of two guys with the same powers kind of crashing into each other for a little bit. End of movie. To be clear, I would rather watch Venom than Morbius on any day of the week. But they expected an audience to care for virtually no reason because the movies
Has to do with Spider-Man, I think.
without having anything to do with Spider-Man. There was just that never-ending promise that a Spider-Man cameo would somehow materialize, even though one was never coming. And then Sony figures out that the main thing we want in our Spider-Man films is Spider-Man. Probably because of the success of things like Spider-Man No Way Home and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I'm just spitballing. Turns out you can make a Spider-Man movie that is critically well received and makes money if you put Spider-Man in it. And so some executive has the idea to crank out Madam Web. Forget the villain movies, she's technically a hero, right?
I remember all of my encounters with you, Madam Web. I want nothing to do with you.
And we're gonna do direct references to Spider-Man now.
You take on responsibility. Great hour will come.
He's not in the movie, but maybe that's the same thing. And this is perhaps the worst of the bunch, but it's bad in a different way. Because where Venom and Morbius just kind of lied about the possible Spider-Man connection, and then went out of their way to avoid Spider-Man at all costs, Madam Web is obsessed with reminding you that it has something to do with
Spider-Man, I think.
And then Peter Parker even shows up as a baby. That's the same, right? But none of it ever would have happened without the first Venom film. Because Sony is a company that doesn't know what to do with goodwill. They often win you over with the first few films, then misinterpret what people like about those movies, and then crank out a sequel that is everything that people disliked about a movie. And so eventually you get a stream of corporate dribble that needs to be canceled, rinse, and repeat. But in the crap pile that is the Sonyverse, one movie stands above the rest. And while that's admittedly not a high bar, I've grown to kind of like Venom Let There Be Carnage. Not an A+ film by any means. In fact, when I reviewed it, I gave it a D+.
A C- teetering on a D+.
But it's a fun D+. It's the definition of quality garbage time. It's trash, but it's trash that knows that it's trash.
Got any of those internets?
And therefore it's trash that just tastes so good. Let There Be Carnage is one of the dumbest major studio films of all time.
Sayonara!
Sincerely, it is so incredibly stupid from front to finish. But it plays into the one strength of that original Venom film, which is the relationship between Eddie and Venom. Because even in that original film, Tom Hardy was the only member of the cast who knew that he was in a cartoon.
Hey, Dad.
Welcome back.
Where am I?
You're in the MRI. Okay, we give you a little sedative.
Where's that?
And to me, it's even better that this movie takes it a step further, making this a romantic comedy.
You just said that you loved me. You did.
Yes, Eddie is in love with Anne, but more seriously, he's got a domestic partnership and a different kind of love going on with Venom. He's sharing his body with him, and I love this movie for that. But as I said, Sony are not always ones to take note of why something is successful. So imagine my surprise when the headline Venom 3 will be called The Last Dance comes out, reflecting all of the things that I like about Venom Let There Be Carnage. It sounds stupid, and it's it's a direct reference to another very notable chick flick romantic comedy franchise of films. The Last Dance is also the title of the third Magic Mike film. And don't tell me that's not what it's a reference to. Look at this.
Mrs. Chess.
This was such great promise that we were getting stupid Venom. Like Let There Be Carnage Venom.
Thank you, one person.
Instead of edgelord Venom, like Venom 1 Venom.
Eat both your arms and then both of your legs, and then we will eat your face right up your head.
And that's what it should be, because although there are plenty of comics, including the original Spider-Man material, where things get very dark, a lot of more recent Venom material, especially now that he's gone anti-hero, is very silly and very dumb, in the most joyfully fun way. He's much more of a Deadpool kind of character now than he is an allegory for drug addiction. And of course, when it comes to silliness in any Spider-Man franchise, let's not forget, the movie that made us fall in love with Spider-Man on the big screen was this one, Sam Raimi's 2002 classic, which is a campy, fun movie that brims over the top with silliness. It just understands what it is, and that's what we love it for. And of course, I want Spider-Man. Of course I want to see Venom and Spider-Man's relationship on the big screen done competently and well, and you know, maybe not rushed.
Cry?
The post-credits of No Way Home with the symbiote being left behind in the MCU, to me says that Sony, somewhere cooler heads have prevailed in their contempt with letting that relationship develop in a competent Spider-Man universe, and they can do their own silly, dumb thing. It really is the best of both worlds, and it has changed my mind immensely on how I feel about this franchise. But my expectations were not high. Until I saw this trailer, which we're gonna take a look at again right now. Note he is still wearing those No Way Home clothes.
Stop speaking. I'm giving you a chance, sweetie.
And that's when I knew it was gonna be good. And he's wearing Crocs.
You take me to all the finest places.
And they're still in love, and that's nice. This is the best part. Yeah, that looks so cool. Chiwetel being here is a little bit of a problem. And we love this. And there's Liz.
I think you can get that thing to go.
It was just so fun. Okay, let's get out of the way. This is not a breakdown video. This is just me as a fan talking to you guys as fans. I do think we have some continuity issues with Chiwetel Ejiofor showing up in a scene set in the MCU, it looks like. And is Rhys Ifans playing Lizard? Because that opens a whole bag of worms. I'm just throwing that out there. But it looks so stupid. It looks so wonderfully stupid. Eddie and Venom are in love, and there's a Venom horse. But it knows it's stupid. And I like especially that not only has Sony caught on to the Eddie Venom shipping, but Sony has also caught on to one of the little lines that I really liked from Spider-Man No Way Home.
Norman's on sabbatical.
And said, we could do more like that.
I'm giving you a chance, sweetie.
As a Raimi fan, that kind of thing just makes my heart sing. It's that tone that we're needing. We're missing that in Spider-Man right now. And while the trailer raises some legitimate concerns about Sony being back on their bull like always, I think overall this looks like a stupidly fun good time. The first Venom movie has so much almost action, likely because they weren't sure if this was going to be rated R or PG-13. So instead of coming up with imaginative action sequences, they spent the whole time thinking of ways to shoot scenes that could be cut for both R and PG-13. Hence, hazy, smoky Venom kills, and the climax being just two different colors of goo being mashed together. This is real Snyderverse kinda stuff. And both Venom films have this problem. Let There Be Carnage is not off the hook. But look at this. There are no two goos attacking each other here that we see. Instead, we have this incredible looking underwater sequence where Venom has to attach to Eddie to, I assume, help him breathe and shield him from the bullets? That's so cool. And clean footage of Venom biting off heads? I mean, could they do it? Could this one be rated R? It doesn't matter, just operate within your own rating and try to come up with something actually visually stimulating. However, knowing what I know about this movie does give me some pause on this front, because the villain of this film is heavily rumored to be Toxin, another symbiote, just like the first two movies. And Toxin is going to be attached to this character, the cop from Let There Be Carnage, who thinks that Eddie Brock is a serial killer. And as we see from the end of this trailer, there is at least one scene where the whole hive of symbiotes is coming to Earth. So I'm sure there will be at least one part of this movie where 10 goos attack one goo, and I'm sure they'll all be slightly different variations of the color gray. I do not look forward to this.
Venom, get in the rocket. No.
And this is especially a waste, and let me tell you why. Sony has been trying so hard to have what Disney Marvel has, an interconnected superhero universe. And you could make this work even without Spider-Man. It just really seems like you don't want to. Because part of making an interconnected universe is making the movies connect. No actual connective tissue has been laid between any of these movies except for this line.
Io sono Venom.
That got memed the hell out of in Morbius. And of course there was this line in Madam Web,
New York City's a whole new level of crazy these days,
that I think is supposed to be referencing Venom and Morbius, but then Sony decided that Madam Web is a standalone film. So what the hell is this guy talking about?
New York City's a whole new level of crazy these days.
And later this year, they are releasing a Kraven the Hunter movie, which has been delayed 3 times, I believe, so far. It's debatable whether or not we're going to see this, but I fully believe this is because they don't have confidence in this movie. This is another Venom 1 or Morbius situation. Generic villain turned hero character needs to be an anti-hero for Sony's agenda.
But I think a bunch of guys like us should team up. Could do some good.
Fights an anti-version of that same character. Rinse and repeat. And because there's no Spider-Man, Kraven will not be hunting Spider-Man, which by the way is key to his character. But the thing is, you can still do the Kraven hunt Spider-Man story. The Sonyverse has their own Spider-Man. His name is Venom. And here's this film where Venom is on the run and someone is hunting him.
We are fugitives.
Make the villain Kraven. Why wouldn't you want the villain of this movie to be Kraven? I don't understand it. Because while some of the headlines for this trailer are disappointed because it's clear that Spider-Man is probably not showing up in a major role, think about what the headlines would be if this trailer came out and it turned out this was a Kraven versus Venom movie. This is now in direct competition with Deadpool and Wolverine. Even Joker Folie à Deux has 2 major comic characters in it. I do have a pitch for what could have been done with Spider-Man in this movie if you wanted to have him, and I would like to get it out there before the movie comes out. I want Venom to meet Spider-Man, but if it's this Venom, I don't want him to meet Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Leave that alone, it doesn't need this. I also don't want it to be Andrew Garfield. He's been through enough professionally with Sony. Leave him alone. He left on a great high note.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Don't drag him back down. And of course it can't be Tobey because he was already in the best Venom film that we have so far. Said what I said. Let's have a new Spider-Man. And I know you're saying a 4th on-screen Spider-Man, but this is a whole different kind of thing. Because these movies at this point are almost a parody of superhero movies, especially now that they're self-aware. So let's make the Spider-Man that appears in Venom 3 a parody of the Spider-Man that we already know. He can still have all the same values, great power comes great responsibility, but let's hand that up. Make him an annoyingly responsible Boy Scout. Play it up for laughs. Make it how Venom sees Spider-Man. How this Venom would see Spider-Man. The closest inspiration that I could throw out there, hell, not inspiration, rip it off, Colossus from the Deadpool films.
Over a lifetime, there are only 4 or 5 moments that really matter. Moments when you're offered a choice.
It doesn't need to be the same Spider-Man every time, especially if he's not the main character. Let's be brave. Let's have fun with this. That's what comic books do. And you could even have fun with it and retcon the origin of Venom from the comics into these movies. They've made these films romantic comedies between Eddie and Venom. Now imagine a film where Venom tells Eddie that he wasn't his first. He has an ex-boyfriend, an ex-host, and it's Peter Parker. Come on! I don't care about the potential continuity errors. None of this makes sense anyways. Despite all my trepidations, I have to grade this trailer on what it is. This film was never going to be my perfect Venom movie. Unlike when I graded the Across the Spider-Verse trailers, I have low expectations for what a Venom movie can be. There was no reality where this was going to be perfect. It simply couldn't happen. I was so pleasantly surprised by this. I've found myself watching this trailer multiple times since it came out, and I am excited. This is the first time in the entire history of the Sony Villainverse that I am excited for one of these films. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Oliver the Ricketts, and I'm really excited for Venom: The Last Dance. I'll let you know what I think when I get there. I love Spider-Man.
Hey, welcome to the end of the video. First of all, thanks for watching. Secondly, I actually have a scoop about this movie, and I can't leak it because I don't want to get my source in trouble, but I have a whole theory based around this scoop, and I just want to see if I'm right. So, I've recorded me saying what's going to happen in a separate video, and I'm just going to play the beginning of it for you here to prove that I have it, and when the movie comes out, I will release the whole thing, and we'll see if I'm right. Venom: The Last Dance. I know exactly what's going to happen in this movie, and I can't tell anybody any of what happens. So I just want everybody who I talk to know that I guessed it before it starts coming out, based on this one little piece of information. The cigarette is for pointing, not for... Okay.